in the previous. So we were talking about S3. So let me just go and open my S3 bucket. Okay, so I have deleted everything after yesterday's session. So what I will do now is I'll quickly go ahead and create my S3 and give me guys 1 second. Hi, Manojit. Actually, nowadays there is some critical work going on, and this time only everybody starts calling. Anyhow, so let's get started. So what we were talking about is that we have our S3 bucket. So what I have done is I have deleted all my S3 buckets and I am starting fresh today. So I'll quickly go ahead and create a S3 bucket, and those two topics which were left, we will talk about that. So it should be small letter. So my dummy bucket, and I will give it as 0603 or anything you give. It should be unique. That's it. Go all the way down here and say, I want to create a bucket. That's it. I'm not doing anything else. Now you can see my bucket got successfully created. Now what I will do is I will go to these two sections. So go here. So we were talking about management and access point. Okay, so we have covered all these things. So when I go to management, okay, it basically talks about few items which we have already covered, like lifecycle rules. So I told you that when you keep the data in S3 standard, it is comparatively costlier. So we move it to S3 IA, S3 One Zone, and S3 Glacier and Deep Archive. Then I told you that you can have something called a replication rule, so that if you want, you can keep your data safe so that it doesn't get deleted. Then there is something called inventory configuration. So inventory configuration is nothing but here you can keep the data plus the metadata. Means sometimes the data is not that important, but data about the data is more important. I can give you an example: election. So when a person votes, it is not important who voted, but what is important is the actual count, number of votes. So number of votes is a metadata. It is data about the data. So that kind of details is stored in my configuration or inventory configuration. These scheduled reports can include all objects in the bucket limited to a shared prefix. So we kind of keep the metadata, like what amount of data is secured or what amount of data is private, what amount of data is public. So that kind of detail we keep here. Then this is your management. The last thing which we cover here is access point. So when I say access point, many a times you will see that you want to connect to your S3 bucket from an external source. In that place, you come and say, I want to create an access point. So it is saying data accessed at scale of shared data set. So let me say I have a S3 which I want to share with some application. Or let me give you an example. I have a Java program, and in the Java program, I want to write something and then it should get uploaded to S3. So you will be coming later. I will teach you that there are many applications who run on a hybrid cloud environment. So let me say they are running on Kubernetes, but at the end of the day, they want to store their data in S3 because S3 is cheap and very much flexible. So Kubernetes has to be connected to S3. So how it will get connected? So you will get something called access point. We also say it is endpoint. So using this access point or endpoint, you will be able to connect to some other external source, third-party source. So as of now, I'm not showing you anything like that. But in future, I will come back here and I will show you how I can create an access point. And using this access point, I can connect my S3 bucket to some third-party application. So that is something which is pending, will come later. Now, after this, we move to EC2. So EC2 is my bread and butter. So I told you yesterday in the class that before when you go to buy a laptop or a desktop or anything, everything will be okay. This is this much, this much, this much, everything will be okay. The thing which drives the cost is your RAM. So if you're using a machine with a higher capacity, let me say you're buying a machine with 16 GB RAM, 32 GB RAM, it will be costlier compared to the same configuration you buy for a 4 GB RAM. So here also in cloud, AWS provides you that kind of cost and optimize cost and that performance. So we will be talking about EC2. So I know you will be aware how to launch a EC2. And one very important thing which I always say is that if you're not using it, you should terminate it. If you terminate it, the good thing is that it is gone completely and it will not come back again. So when I say that I'm going to talk about EC2, let me open my PowerPoint and let's talk about EC2. So EC2 stands for Elastic Cloud Compute. If you want to know what it is, so it is a virtual server on cloud. So come here and say EC2. So it says it's a virtual server on cloud or a virtual machine on cloud environment. Very simple. If I have to go by the definition, then you can say that EC2 is an instance. We say it is a instance. Why? Because it's a virtual server, and using this virtual server, you can run any application of your choice. Let me say you want to run it as a Git server, Jenkins server, Nginx server. So this server or this instance which is available for you over the internet, you can convert that into anything which you want. So you can think like you are in a big room or a big server house, and then there are lots of machines in and around you, and you can choose anything. You can say, okay, I want 2 GB RAM, I want 8 GB RAM, I want 200 GB of storage. So this configuration is something you can do. So basically, an instance is a tiny part of a large computer where you choose your own hard disk, you choose your own network, you choose your own operating system, and you will get everything, but everything is virtual. Now, when I move ahead, I simply say EC2 or EC2 instance. So EC2 instance give me resizable compute capacity. Now, when we talk about resizable compute capacity, what do I mean by that? So let me come here and explain this. So I will give you a very simple example. Let me say I am a web server. I'm a website. Now, at any point of time, my website can handle, let me say, 100 customers per hour or per minute. Very good website. It can handle a load of 100 customers per minute. What will happen if 500 customers will come? Will this machine be able to take that load? The answer is no, it will not be able to take load. What can happen? It may slow down or it may crash. Okay, so many times you might have seen that there is a college website. Okay, so when you go, normally it will work like normal, but then one fine day when the results are announced, everyone wants to go and get inside and see what is the result. In that case, what will happen? The server will only crash or it will not respond. And once the load is gone, it will start responding. If you are from India, you might have seen our IRCTC website. In daytime, you go and you book a ticket, it is done. But in the night, in the Tatkal time, if you go, the window for Tatkal is there. If you go at that time, you will not be able to go inside. The moment you go inside, you will see it is very slow. Okay, so this is the reason why it is slow or why it is not responding, because every server has a capacity. Now, if you are a website like IRCTC, you don't have any competition. Nobody is there to compete with you. But if you are a website like, let me say, Amazon.com, Flipkart.com, or Hotstar.com, so these websites are something which has a lot of competition. Now, let me say for half an hour, my Amazon.com is not working. What will happen? There will be many people who will stop going to Amazon.com. They will say, hey, this website is not working. Let me go to some other website and buy. Now, let me say you have bought Netflix subscription. The Netflix is not working or not responding for 4 hours. What you will do? You will say, hey, give me my money back. I don't want your subscription. So customers are not going to agree if your website is not available 24/7. So as a server owner, my requirement is that my server should run 24/7. Even if the customers are less, more, my server should respond accordingly. So if my customers are more, so the number of servers should increase. So when I say increase, I'm talking about scaling. So scaling can be upward scaling or downward scaling. So upward means increase the number of servers so that more customers can be served. If the workload is less, then the server should be small so that you don't waste it. So if I say scaling, it is of two types. One is vertical scaling, other one is horizontal scaling. So when I say, say again, my same example. So I have a machine. Let me say it is 4 GB RAM and 2 TB hard disk. And it is capable of handling, let me say, 100 customers. Now there are 500 customers. So I can do one thing. The same machine I will upgrade, means I will make that machine as 32 GB RAM and let me say 10 TB hard disk, just some random numbers. What will happen? Probably the customers will get the response, but there is a major risk here. What is the risk? This instance can crash at any point of time. Why? Because it is one single machine. You cannot rely on one single machine. Moreover, tomorrow, if the workload further increases, you will not be able to upgrade your system. So probably it may not support anything more than 32 GB. So in that case, what you will do? So anytime when you go, vertical scaling is not good. We go for horizontal scaling. So horizontal scaling means we add more instances of similar capacity. So let me say I have added one more server with 8 GB and 4 TB hard disk. Okay. When I don't need it, I will just simply remove them. So this concept is known as auto scaling. Automatically, when the load is more, the servers will come up. Whenever it is less, the servers will go down. So we will talk about that. But as of now, we are talking about scaling. Scaling means whenever the workload is more instances should be there. Whenever it is less should be there. At any point of time, I should not overutilize my capacity or underutilize my capacity. Both are important. If you are overutilizing means any point you can crash and your customers will start suffering. At the end, you will also suffer. Your revenues will go down. If it is underutilizing means you're simply running your servers. There are no customers. So you will have to pay electricity bill, maintenance charges, and all those things. So both are bad. EC2 gives me that provision where I can work according to my load. So if I have a big load, I get big number of servers. If I have less load, I get less number of servers. Okay, so I can go ahead and work with this setup. So EC2 is going to give me that kind of work. So if you read here, it says EC2 is going to give you resizable compute capacity in cloud Amazon EC2. Okay. And it will reduce the time. So earlier, what happened? Suppose you have to go for a big billion day sale kind of thing. So you will have to order those many servers. Then you have to configure those many servers. And then once the big billion day sale is done, you don't know what do you have to do with those servers. But here it is resizable and it is configured as per your requirement. And even configuration does not take time. In fraction of minutes, you can get 100 of servers. And when your work is not, you are not required, you just give it back to Amazon. And the best is that you pay as you go. If you're using 100 servers, you pay for 100 servers. If you're using 2 servers, you're paying for 2 servers. This EC2 instance is of 4 types. So if I have to come here and explain how many types are there are basically of 4 types. So let me come back here. So I will first tell you one small stuff, and then I will go with the types of instances. So assume a situation that I am going to a friend's marriage. Now let me say his marriage is happening somewhere in Andhra, somewhere. Let me say Guntur. Now I'm staying in Bangalore. So if I am planning in advance, I should book in advance. And if I book in advance, I may get discount plus guarantee that my ticket is booked. Okay. Now, this is booking in advance. The second variety can be that last moment guys. They will say, are you going? Yes. Can you book ticket for us also? Now here we go for TAT, Tatkal kind of thing. Here we will end up paying higher price, and we cannot guarantee availability. If availability is there, you may get. If availability is not there, you may not get. Risk is there, right? But one thing is pakka, that you are paying more money. Now, the same thing, let's come back and talk here. So the one we just now talked that we are booking in advance is reserved. So when I say reserved, you make upfront commitment. You buy those many servers, and these will be charged to you on an hourly basis, but you buy them for 1 to 3 years. Obviously, when you buy them well in advance, you get a good discount. Okay. So if here on demand, it is $100, probably here it will be only $30. So that is the level of discount which you get. So you can think it is almost 1/3. Okay. But the problem is, in case you are not using it, then there is no cancellation. Means you will not get your money refunded. Even if you get refund, there is a good amount of money which will be deducted. Okay. So cancellation charges are very high. You can think like this. So reserved is good, but if you are canceling it at the last moment, then you hardly get any refund. But if you're using it, it will be of great use and good cost saving for you. As the word suggests, on demand reserved, it is reserved for you. Nobody else can take it from you. So it is guaranteed plus discount. The second variety is on demand. I need it. I'm ready to pay for it. Even if it's a higher price, I want it. And that is what is the default one. It allows you to pay a fixed rate by hour, per hour you pay, and there is no commitment. Means you can use it for 30 minutes, you can use for 2 hours, you can use for 2 days, but whatever is the cost, you are going to pay for it. Very clear? Then
here, excuse me.
Yeah.
Because here architect will decide the further procrastination, like what has to be, because the for reserving it something for years and engage the money for that. So before that, they must have some analysis by architect or
yes. So this is what you do when you become a solution architect. These are the things what you do. So to make a decision, first you should know what is what. So that is what we are doing right now. Okay. Now.
Yes. Because one more thing, just
yes.
Previous to this, you mentioned the vertical and horizontal scaling. So in that, how to observe that the particular, is it any particular analysis tool that
I will teach you
added?
when auto scaling comes into picture. I will show you how it works.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Fine.
Fine. So now let me come back here again. Now there are many people who they don't plan, but they are smart. Now let me say I'm going for a vacation. Okay. I know it's COVID time. So probably the hotels will be empty. Okay. So I go to a hotel and the cost for one room, one night is, let me say, $110. I will go to the manager and I will make him an offer. I will pay you $30. The manager may agree, may not agree, but I know it is a COVID time. And the manager is going to think that anyhow, the rooms are vacant. Let me give him for $30. At least I will get $30. So he gets the room, but there is a condition. In night or in daytime, anytime, if somebody gives me anything more than what you are giving, I will throw you out of the room. It may be midnight, it may be 3 a.m. in the morning, it may be 6 o'clock in the morning, it may be 8 a.m. But anytime anybody is paying me more than what you are paying, will throw you out. So if you are ready to take that risk, then you can go with on spot. Now, what is this on spot? I just now told you. So here, let me say most of the offices work from 9 to 5, or let me say from morning 7 to evening 10 o'clock or night 10 o'clock. But after 10 o'clock, somewhere around 12 in the night till morning 5, approximately, most of the offices will be closed. So most of the servers will be sitting idle with Amazon because Amazon has bought it. So Amazon, what it does is it gives you at a discounted price. The discounted price can be almost 1/10 of what the actual price is, because Amazon is knowing, and you also know that anyhow, the servers are not being used. Okay. So there are many things or many servers which are vacant. So you can go and ask them for a discounted price. But here you should have a flexible work. Flexible work means even if it stops in between, again, you have to start. You should not lose any work item. So let me give you an example, a loan processing request. So I have a loan processing request. I will run that job in the night because even if it gets half complete, tomorrow I'll run it again. I have told the customer, come after 3 days. So in 3 days, whenever I get the bandwidth, I will run at that time. So any such work which is not very critical, can wait, is flexible, we do it on spot instances. Here, you get a huge discount. In fact, there are many freelancers who work with these spot instances. They are ready to sacrifice their work in case the instance is taken away from them. Somebody has paid more than what they have, but generally 90% of the time the instance remains with you because most of the servers, in fact 95 to 98% of the servers are sitting idle during the night time because business is closed. Then the last one is dedicated host. Now when I say dedicated, the word suggests, what do you mean by dedicated? Dedicated means it is only for you. Now let me say you are working for a company like NASA or Government of America or Government of India, where there is mission critical data. Okay. So at any circumstances, you will not want that data gets compromised, that instance gets compromised. So in that case, you will go for dedicated host. Dedicated host is very much like a private network where it is exclusively for you. Obviously, needless to say, it is very, very, very costly. So if you're going with dedicated host, please have good amount of money because it will ask you for a good amount of cost. So these are the 4 types of instances, like on demand, reserved, spot, and dedicated. Now let's move ahead. Generally, when we start our work, most of the time we go with on demand and we stick to on demand only. So many of you might be aware how to create an instance, but in case you're not aware, we will create an instance and we will see many features. So many a times when it comes, I have told, okay, we will do it later and all those things. But today we'll go with all the types of instances. Don't save. So let me come here to my instance. So you can click on EC2. Now, to create an EC2, there are two things which is mandatory. One is your key pair. The other one is your security group. So key pair is this, which is nothing but your password. So I have created a demo key and I have created it as a PPK. So I can see in my downloads, it is already there. So I've already told you how to create it. So I don't want to repeat it. Simply come here, create, give a name. Then if you're using a Windows machine, use PPK. Using a Mac machine, use PEM. Say create key pair, done. So this is done. Then you can go back here, EC2. The second item which I want to create is security group. Now let me discuss what is security group. So security group is nothing but it's a firewall. So like a security guard, it will sit at the gate of the EC2 instance and it will monitor the traffic. It will see what is good traffic or authorized traffic and what is bad traffic. So when I say bad traffic, there will be many a traffic which is a malware, which is a virus. So its work is to stop unauthorized access and allow the authorized access to happen. So any incoming traffic is known as inbound, and anything which is going outside is known as outbound traffic. So when I come to my EC2 instance, I create a security group. So I've already created one, so I'm not going to create it again, but I'll show you how to do that. So there you get one default security group, but that is of no use because in inbound, you can come here. You will see this inbound. 1 second. If you see the inbound, it is all traffic, means everybody is allowed to come inside. And if you go to outbound, here also it is all traffic, means anybody can come inside, anybody can go outside. If anybody can come inside and anybody can go outside, what is the point of having it? So we don't use this. Generally, this is provided to you because when you get started for the first time, then you don't want to get into the complexities of networking, and hence they give you so that you don't get into the complexities of networking at the very first. But here I am a little bit aware of other items. So I will go and create my own security group. I will not recreate it, but I will just show you. Create a security group, give any name, any description, and then come all the way to inbound and just add the rules. Whatever rule you want, just add it and start using it. So the one which I have already created, this is the one demo SG. Here, if I come in, I can see there are 3 security groups which I have added. So I have added port number 22 for SSH, port number 443 for HTTPS, and port number 80 for HTTP traffic. Okay, so you can get started with this. And I've opened it for everything, means all the internet. 0.0.0 / is everybody on the internet. So anybody can come and access the content.
Because
yes.
Here, which protocol use when and how is like that kind of
that will come with practice.
Later. Okay.
Why? Because the port numbers are fixed. Like 22 is for SSH. Okay, and 443 is for HTTPS. Port number 80 is for HTTP.
Yeah.
So these port numbers.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. But the protocol, which protocol we need to select for which type of like, so that analysis, we need to know some more detail into protocols types and
protocol types and all you will come to know only by covering more about network. So okay. See, I will be covering the basic ones like 22, 80, and 443. But as and when a component will come, like let me say I'm teaching you database. So in database, it is 3309. So as and when it will come, I will tell you. Like when I'm teaching you Jenkins works at 8080. So I will keep telling you, but you
Okay.
don't have to by heart anything, because
Yes.
these things will only and only be relevant, or will be very much, you can remember all these things
Yes. Yes.
when you practice
So
them.
out of this only, it won't be. Means like this, for example, for creating and having inbound rules, we need to have a TCP. Then you said that for database, then that some other three.
Yes. See,
Yeah,
if
like
you,
that. Yeah.
yes, if you come here, let me say I want to connect to MySQL. I'm just giving an example. So if you want to connect to MySQL, you simply come here and say add rule, and here you type MySQL. So you get MySQL, click on this, automatically this port number will come 3306. Now let me say you want to connect with Redshift 5439. Let me say you want to connect with let me say some customized requirement. So you can come here and say custom TCP, and let me say you want to connect to 8080. So these things will be there, and you have to customize it as per your requirement if the port number is not present. Obviously, you can change it. So it is not mandatory, but you can change it.
Yeah, understood now. Thank you.
So I will delete this. I'm not using it. As of now, only 3 ports, SSH, HTTPS, and HTTP is what I have enabled. Save the rules.
Because just a small query, actually, these ports are useful for connecting the only servers, right?
Yes.
Our virtual servers.
Yes.
So after connecting to the virtual server, suppose I only enable the RDP port. After that, I connected to virtual server. So I want to perform an upgrade or anything in that virtual machine. So for that also it will work all traffic, or only this port it will work?
No, it will work only those traffic. So if I come back here, see here. So if you see this guy, so this is a EC2 instance, which is a virtual machine. So it is kind of, you have opened a window here. So whatever you want to do will happen via that window only. So
Okay.
whatever you do, so it's a communication.
No,
So,
I got it. So I enable only RDP port for this EC2 instance.
then you will
So I want
be
to
able to connect via RDP port number.
Okay. So inside the server, like anything I can do, right? Like
Yes.
enabling
See,
all traffic.
it is like this. So suppose you have a server and you have
Yes.
enabled RDP. So how
Yes.
will you reach the server? Because the server is a virtual machine somewhere
Yes. Yes.
in North Virginia. So you have to reach that server. To reach that
Okay.
server, this port number will act as a window for you.
Okay. This is yes, I got it. This security group is connecting between the like from the public network to like our EC2 instance.
Yes.
Or
Here it is
right?
telling your computer, means your network, to
Yes.
your
Yes.
secure, to your EC2 instance, which is in cloud.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Wait a second. So I've opened these 3 port numbers here. Okay. And I will just come down. Outbound, I'm not worried. Like anybody can go outside. Coming inside is a problem for me, because virus can come inside. From my system, virus cannot go outside. So I'm not worried about outbound. I've only changed the inbound, and that's it. Then let's go ahead and create a EC2 instance. So when I have to create a EC2 instance, I can come here. I can go to launch instances, and then again, the series of steps which we already know. So the first step talks about operating system, basically the AMI, Amazon Machine Image. So here, the first step is talking about name and tag. So what name would you like to give? So let me say, I will like to give this as my first server. Give any name of your choice. Then it talks about AMI, which is nothing but my Amazon Machine Image, which is my operating system and my application. You can go for anything: Mac, Ubuntu, Debian, SUSE, Fedora, Amazon Linux. Only thing which I will recommend is look for something which is free tier. Why to spend money unnecessary? So I will go with Amazon Linux. Your call, whichever you want, you can use it. So I'll go with Amazon Linux. And you can see here, it is free tier eligible. It is giving me free tier support also. So Amazon Linux 2 is what I'm using. It's a 64-bit processor. Then instance type. Now this is something which is damn costly. Why? Because this is the RAM, this is the processor. Here, if you go with anything more than T2 micro, you end up paying money. So let's stick to T2 micro. it is good. 1 GB RAM is good. Whatever work we will do, it will be good. A little bit slow, but yes, it is good. Anywhere where it is not good, I will go ahead and upgrade myself. But for that upgradation, I have to pay cost. So I'll be using this. Here it says compare the instance type. So if you go and say compare the instance type, it will show you all the varieties here. There are 535 varieties. It keeps adding. Now, you don't have to remember this by heart, but just know that there are different types of instances, or we say different family of instances. No need to by heart all these things, but just know that if you're using D2, it is dense storage. Now, one mistake which one of my students did long back. So to check, they will ask you that, okay, tell me what work you're doing. So you say, I'm doing this work. They will ask you, what type of instance are you using? So he told, I'm using T2 micro. So he was caught because in production, we don't use T2 micro. T2 micro is for our training purpose. So let me say that you are saying that I built a website. Okay. So you should go and say that I was using M4 large or M4 series. Okay. Because I was running a application server. T2 series is for low cost general purpose, means small things. So if you're running on a production scale, definitely you're not going with T2 series. Okay. So just remember that D2 is dense storage. Use case is what I'm asking you to remember. Don't by heart. Just read through, you will somehow remember. Like M4 is general purpose. So most of the people will be using M4 series. C4 is compute optimized. Then D2 is dense storage, something which is very storage specific. Okay, T2 is low cost, P2 is graphics, X1 is memory optimized. So like that, if you see, you will be able to see the use case. Use case is important. Okay. If you say that I was working for a application server or I was designing a website on AWS, then you should know that you were using M4 large or M4 XL large. So that kind of thought process you should have, because if you say I am using T2 micro, then he will say, okay, gone case, bye bye, tata. That should not happen. Okay. So this is what I want you to say. But yes, during training, if you go for M4 large, you will be the one who is paying the cost, because it is, yes, it is costly. So I'll use T2 micro only, select.
Yeah, and initially, if fresher we are entering in the project, in that case, we have to, as usual, T2 micro only we have to say,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And if we want to see that M4, you said, no? At the experience, so that any live video we can see in the YouTube or anyone.
You can see anywhere. See, it is not like you cannot choose it. You also can choose it. The only thing is, if you choose it, you end up paying money. So in YouTube, if you want to see a video or you yourself want to try, go ahead and give it a try. There's no problem.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
Here I will use my key pair, which is my demo key, which I just now created. And then networking details, I will leave as it is. I'm not going much into the networking details. I will only go here and say, I want to select an existing security group, a security group which I have created. I don't want to go with the default one. So I'll go with my demo security group. And here it talks about storage. Now this storage is not S3. Okay. Please do not get confused by storage as S3. This is EBS. EBS is nothing but block storage. And it clearly says that if you go anything beyond 30 GB, you will be charged. So when I say EBS, it is elastic block storage. There is something called file system, which I will cover later. But as of now, the storage which we are talking about is EBS, or it is block storage. Then just go to the summary section and just go ahead and say launch an instance. Now, when you launch an instance, you get a success message here. There are a few things which you should notice carefully. The first thing is, let it come. The first thing is that you get a public IP here. So this public IP is meant for outside communication. So there are many people, right? They have a pet name with which their family members will call them, and an outside name with which the office people will call. Similarly, you can think here that public IPv4 is something which will be used by outside world, and private IP address is something which will be used by inside AWS. Now, private IP is constant. It will not change, but this public IP changes. So as of now, if you see here, the IP is, so let me just keep it somewhere. This is the IP. But the problem here is if I stop the instance, rebooting will not make any difference. Terminate means completely gone only. So I'm not talking about reboot or terminate. I'm talking about stop. So if you stop your instance, what will happen is this randomly generated IP address will be deallocated, and it will be given to someone else. You cannot say that, okay, I want this IP address, or why this IP address I did not get. Those kind of things are not possible, but this IP address will be gone. Once it is coming in stopped state, you will see it is gone. And next time when you bring it up, you get a new IP address. Now the question can be, hey, I am running my website here. Every time if IP changes, how will I manage? One of the ways to manage is by using a elastic IP. So if you come here, you can use an elastic IP. So earlier, this elastic IP was chargeable, but in recent time, what Amazon has done is every user can get 5 elastic IPs free of cost. So you need to check this. So how you can go and do it. So simply come here to elastic IP, come here and say, allocate a elastic IP to me. Allocate. In US East 1, I will be using it. Amazon's pool of IPv4 address, and come here and say allocate. So when you say allocate, it means it will randomly allocate your IP address, but this IP address will be constant, or it will stay with you unless and until you release it. So if you don't want, you have to release it. But if you want to keep it with you, you can associate this elastic IP, and you can say, I am associating this elastic IP with my instance, and the name of the instance will be the one which I have created just now, which is my first server. Associate. Once you associate, what you will see is that even if the instance is in stopped state, it will not lose the IP address. See here, my first, this is the IP address. If you keep coming here, in the elastic IP section, you will find it. In the public IP section, you'll find it. And you start, stop, do whatever you feel like, it stays with you. Okay. Now, once you create a server, or once you have a server, you can do anything and everything with that. So let me say you went to market and you bought a brand new laptop. Now it is up to you whether you want to install Windows, Ubuntu, Mac. Obviously, it should be an Apple system for Mac, but it is you who will take a call, like what machine you want to install, what operating system you want to install, what softwares you want to install. Similarly, here I can go ahead and make that decision. So I will come to this instance, and the easiest way to connect, so it should be in running state. The easiest way to connect is simply come here and say connect. Come to EC2 connect. You should be using a browser which is of latest version of the browser. Default user is EC2 user, and just come here once and say connect. EC2 user connect, and you will be able to connect. Internet should be good, firewall should not block it, and you should be able to connect. One very important thing which many students fail is, what they do is they do not enable port. So let me come back one step here. EC2 dashboard. So in the security group, in the inbound section, edit inbound section. Okay, so in the inbound section, they do not enable port number 22. Okay, now because they don't enable port 22, then they will come back here and say, sir, it is not getting connected. Sir, I'm getting error. You will get error because I told that this acts like a window. If the window is not open, how will the communication reach? So to make sure that the instance is getting connected, the first and the foremost rule is that the security group should be enabled. If it is not enabled, your firewall is blocking or your internet is slow, then it can't happen. So let me come back here, add a rule, say I'm going to use SSH port number 22, make it like anywhere from, I can connect from anywhere, and just come here and say, save the rule, come all the way, refresh this guy. This time it will connect and it is able to connect. This is one of the easiest way. There can be multiple ways. So if you're using a Windows machine, or sorry, if you're using a Mac machine, you will find this way very, very good. Come here, this connect, and you can go to SSH client and you can simply run this set of instructions. If you're using Windows 11 or anything, you will get something called PowerShell. So you can run it via PowerShell. You can run it via this. You have to install something called AWS CLI here. So if you want to install via this, you can come here and use something called Git Bash. So there are many tools available in the market. Okay, you can use any tool, but I generally prefer Putty. Why? Because I have been working with Putty for a long time. So I have asked you to install Putty. Go ahead and install Putty app. Host name, which is the machine. So the machine IP address, I'll get it from here. This is the machine's IP address. Anyhow, I can come back here. Always connect with the public IP. Private IP, no, it will not work because you're doing a communication to outside world. So just come and paste it here. 1 second. And then you can also add your username. So who's the default username? EC2 minus user @ and then the IP address. If you have launched a Ubuntu machine, so the default user is Ubuntu. So like this, if you launch different operating systems, the default user will be different. So you can give it a try. Then you can go to appearance. Here the font size is 10, change it to 16 so that you are able to see clearly. Then SSH, there's a plus button, click on this. Auth, not on the plus button, auth, browse, and go and locate wherever your key is. This should be PPK, Putty private key, and open it up. Now this is the right way to connect. Why? Because you authenticate yourself and you are doing whatever you want to. Now it says you run this command sudo yum update. So let me run it. Sudo yum update -y. -y because if I don't give -y, it will keep asking me, do you want to proceed? Do you want to proceed? Yes, I want to proceed. So I've given -y. So now what will happen? It will update everything. Now let me say, this is a normal machine. I want to convert it into a Git machine. So what I will do, yum install Git -y. So Git will be installed, sorry. Now Git will be installed. So it says you need to be a root. So I'll become a root user. How? Sudo su hyphen means give me root permission. Sudo means switch user. Su means switch user. Hyphen means give me the root privilege. 2 minutes में call कर रहे हैं रुचि. Then this IP address you don't like. I want to change the name. Host name. Give any name of your choice. New server. And again, sudo su hyphen. So see here, new server, root. Now do whatever you want. Yum install Git. Install Git. I want to install, let me say, Java. So yum install Java. Now Java 8 will be installed. Similarly, you can install any software which you want. What happened? Yum install. Okay, spelling is wrong. Now Java will be installed. So you can go ahead and install anything and everything on this machine. Why? Because you have internet connectivity and you have all the powers to do it. So that is all what we have for today. Any questions if you have, please go ahead. If you don't have questions, we'll drop. The most important thing will be, as I have promised, you will see on a daily basis, there is a huge amount of hands-on which we are doing. And hands-on is something which will help you. When they will ask you, what have you done in your project? This is what we do in project. We build our environment, we do the setup. So get your hands dirty, get as much as hands-on experience possible, because scenario-based questions will be asked. If I want to do this, how will I do it? So to get that interest that I should learn, I should do good, you will have to do hands-on. So 2 days you will be having leave. Please practice. Any questions are there, please contact your coordinators. They will contact with me, or you can directly contact, and then I can help you with your problems. Okay. So any questions, please go ahead. If no questions are there, we can drop.
Because here, daily as a session wise, do we have, can any interview questions so that?
No, interview questions I'll share at the end, because interview questions is a combination of concepts. One concept alone, they will not ask you what is EC2 or what is the full form of S3. So these are very wastage of time, I will say. Okay. So I don't want to do anything like that.
Okay, session wise or any like the day wise, it's not correct way. Okay.
So do we need to install the same software again and again? No. Once you install the software, done. It will stay there unless and until you terminate your instance. It will stay there. Okay, so you can keep your instance. It will stay there. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Fine then. See you then, guys. Bye-bye.
Hello.
Yeah.
Because what we'll use in the real time, what are the instance like mostly instance using like
M4.
reserved?
M4 series is what?
No.
Series
No, you said like reserved spot and dedicated this
we
type
will
of things.
generally
Right?
see if it's a big organization, they will most of the time they will go with reserved.
Okay.
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 And
like 1 to 2 years like that they will take, and mostly like that, right? Your tech.
yes.
And is there any like for solution architect, like a company will give any like budget, in this budget only you need to run this project?
No.
Or
See, that is on a very high level.
okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, fine then. See you then, guys.